approach your throne tonight or today. We're so thankful that we can. And Father, we do pray for our firemen right now as they're fighting two fires. We ask, Lord, that they would accomplish it and put them out. But Lord, not only that you would protect them, build a hedge around them, get them home safely. We thank you for their service. I do pray for the Hayden Varney family, Lord, that they lost a loved one. I'm asking right now that you'd be close and dear to them, give them strength and grace that only you can during this time. And Father, we thank you for his service, but Lord, we just pray right now that you be close to that family. We do pray for our police, Lord, they're out patrolling. Lord, it's been very, very hot. And Lord, I know tempers seem to mount up, and we ask, Lord, that you to protect them and Lord, help them and get them home safely. We pray for this meeting tonight, Lord. We ask that as they discuss the business of our whole county, Lord, I'm asking, Lord, you give them wisdom. And Father, that everything that they say and do here today would be that to glorify thy name. And Father, we do ask today that, Lord, you bring some rain our way. We really need it. And Father, just help us. For we do ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Roll call, please.
Director Espinoza. Director Hoag.
Here.
Director Lohr. Director McDaniel.
Here.
Director Murphy. Director O'Banion.
Here.
Director Oliveira.
Here.
Director Pereira.
Here.
Director Price.
Here.
Director Vialta. Chair McCabe.
Present. Thank you. Approval of the agenda.
I'll move to approve.
Second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll move item 5 until later into the meeting. Item 6, public comment. At this time, any member of the public may address this board. Is there anyone wishing to do so? Seeing none, we'll move on. Item 7, the minutes for items A through C. Is there any discussion? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve as presented. I'll second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 8, Citizens Advisory Committee Report. Robert Morse. Not here. We will be moving on. Item 9, Merced County Regional Waste Management Authority Monthly Update. Brooks.
Good afternoon. I have to turn it on first. Okay, tonnage is good. Marty's done a very good job of, we remember that Billy Wright was reaching close to 20,000 tons, and so he's cut back a couple of the customers without cutting them off. So they're continuing to come, but just reduce the tonnage so we make sure we have time to get the phase 2 built. So don't run out of airspace, that's the idea. So I think we're doing well there. And landfill gas to energy project, this is the engine that we're actually looking at. That's about the size of 2 commercial refrigerators. So it's not humongous. So we would get 2 to 3 of these depending on how much gas we have. And these basically have the best available control technology. In fact, very, very low emissions. So you don't need, basically the Air Board will permit these anywhere because they're such low emissions. And the other good thing is they have excess heat. And that's what the user really wants, is to boil their water without purchasing natural gas. So the excess heat from these units can do that. So where we are right now is we're looking at 2 routes to get over to the campus. We can go down Highway 59 with Caltrans, and then we are going to talk to the property owners between us and the high school. There's 4 property owners, and see if we can negotiate an easement through their property. We're also maybe looking at the power lines. There might be a third option. Power lines already go across, and so if you just put a pipe underneath those, we don't know if that's been done, but it's also a potential option. So where we are right now is review the numbers, make sure it makes financial sense, and then use the design to go to and get the permit, because we can't sign anything permanent with the UC until it's past the environmental review. Any questions about the, yes, sir?
Being that this is so efficient, is the Air Board willing to give us some money to implement this?
Did I look at Lloyd when I just said that?
Never know.
We can ask. I didn't think about that, but we can ask. And a little update on Billy Wright, the Phase 2 expansion. So if you can look at the map, that's Phase 2B, so that's what we're digging right now. It's kind of an L shape, and this is the old unlined area from the 70s through the 90s. And so right at this perimeter, right there, that western edge, we just have a blueprint from where they said it was built. And so when we actually started digging there, that's the anchor trench where the liner is going to actually tuck into the ground and tie into this old unlined area. But we need just soil and no contamination there. And so when we started digging, we hit what we think is the winter pad or the wet weather operations area. So it's some concrete with some rebar in there. So this is a slight change order. I think it came in at around $18,000. So nothing really significant, nothing we could identify or prevent. It's just we have to get to good soil before we can put down liner. So this has already been removed, and we actually recovered this concrete and are putting in our crush pile to make our roads out of. So it really was not too bad of an impact. There we go. And the Granite Campus Parkway project, we were hoping, they have 3 phases. Phase 1 and 2 are already bid out, and we were hoping to sell them our soil for $1, and they are getting it from the Jackson Baker borrow pit in LeGrand for free. So we, in the future, Patrick and I have talked that we probably will bring you an agenda item. It's costing us $3 a yard to move soil at Billy Wright right now for the expansion. That's just moving it on site, digging the hole and putting it to the side. Ultimately, at Highway 59, we have to get rid of 3 million yards. And so anything, in my opinion, anything up to $3, if we would pay you to move it, it's a wash, because we're going to pay somebody else to move it whenever we build the next expansions. So you'll probably see an agenda item in the near future requesting that we have the option of actually being able to pay somebody to remove it for us versus paying a vendor to move it on site, and then we have to move it again later. And Billy Wright landfill, Robert met with the water district to discuss the fact that we have water on one side of the fence. Can we move it to the other side of the fence? And that's out of the district, so the answer is no. So we still are not saying it's dead. We can truck in water, and we really don't need that much. It's just for dust control, and then we have, toilets and sinks and stuff, so we don't really use a whole lot. So maybe we can find a trucking option, and so that'll be fine. But we haven't gotten that far yet. Okay. Any questions on those? Okay, today's trash trivia. What is Merced County's most popular vehicle? Need to get y'all buzzers. Very close.
F-150?
Yes. Here we go. So this is Highway 59 outbound lanes on a Saturday, and that is about noon. And so again, that's the popular time to show up. And here's the problem is really on the way out. And you can see that's about 30 pickup trucks. So that's the most popular vehicle is a pickup truck, and they all show up Saturday at lunchtime. So that's the problem we're trying to address. We really only have the backups on Saturday, but we really need another scale. And so this is in the budget. You approved this in our workshop, but we're getting ready to start improvements at both scale houses. So I just want to run by it real quick. So this is Highway 59, and that's the scale and the scale houses, scales and the scale house. That's the inbound stacking area. So there's a lot of room if you're waiting to weigh in, but there's not much room because the road tapers on the way out. It's about half the size or less. And so here's what it looks like on the inbound side. There's quite a delay from when I push. Okay, there's the scale. There's the 2 scale houses. There's 3 inbound lanes, then a 4th, then a 5th. So there's 5 inbound lanes, only 2 scales, and 2 of the lanes are blank. There's nothing in it. So really what would be nice is just to be able to pick up the scale house and move it over, but that's not possible or feasible to do. So on the outbound side, there's your 2 inbound scales and the current outbound scale, the 5 lanes, and so there's 2 in outbound, excuse me. And so what we're proposing to do is put another scale which would block the outbound lane, and so we'll have to put an outer lane on the outside edge. So ultimately, that project is to add a new lane of traffic and then put a scale in the existing lane of traffic. That way, we'll have 2 inbound, 2 outbound. And Billy Ride is a whole nother story. There's only 1 lane and 1 scale, and so the traffic actually pull up at the same time, and there's always a debate over who got there first and who gets to weigh out next, because they have to take turns inbound and outbound. So there's the scale house in yellow, there's the scale in blue, the inbound truck, and the outbound truck on the other side. And so what we propose to do is put a scale house to the left of the blue box. So the yellow would represent a new scale house, which would be a portable. We wouldn't build a concrete structure, just you can order the box. And then we'll put a scale on each side and then improve the traffic around there so that you can have a way around each side. So both those projects, we're selecting the engineering firms that we have under contract right now and getting proposals from those. So you should see some designs in the next few months that we'll bring back to you so you're comfortable with what we're doing. Because these are not absolutely necessary, they're just service improvements for our customers. Okay, any questions on those? And the next thing is just our used oil filter and filter exchange for the month of July. You can take your filters and oil into any of the AutoZone and Pep Boys in the county and get free ones up to a certain dollar amount. And so it's being very well used, and customers seem to appreciate, and it prevents used oil from being dumped in the landfill. And then we have an HHW collection event coming up the 21st at Highway 59. And so it's the next HHW open to the entire county. Anybody can come. Okay. Any questions? Yes, sir.
On your filter exchange, can it also take hydraulic fluid type filters, or is it just for motor oil?
Yeah, okay, just motor oil.
Just motor oil, okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Oh, you're coming back. Next time is item 10, the emergency repairs report for the shredder grinder.
That's next. Sorry. Okay, I don't think I have a slide on this. We had a grinder breakdown, and we only had 1 grinder, and we shuffle it back from site to site, and it's our green waste, and the green waste comes in 5 days a week, and we have to process it within a certain number of days. And so it broke, and we had to order 1 drum broke, but there is match set. That's the 2 things that spin and grind the material. It's made in Austria, so we had to order parts. They had a spare set in Denver, and we had those shipped over. We had BJack, which is the only vendor in California that can warranty the work, do the work. And so it was $85,000, I believe, and it's complete. But remember that we have a $500,000 emergency fund that we set up a couple years ago. So it came out of that fund, and then we'll replenish that fund in the budget next year. Okay. Thank you.
Any questions? No? Thank you. Oh, go ahead.
So when you started talking, I thought you were going to come back and say, well, so since we have to move it back and forth, we'd have a spare. You were going to ask to buy another one, but I guess that wasn't the ask.
No, we just fixed this under warranty, and we'll keep going back and forth. But it was $25,000 to rent one for 1 week. So we felt it was better to get the work done by warranty and have it function again and not have to worry about it, so.
All right. Would Director Espinosa come to the front, please? So the board would like to present you with this token of appreciation for your service as chairman for 2017.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Appreciate it.
I had a great time being chair. You know, we always still learn, and just happy that we were to go around the county and see everybody, and every 2 years a new board, so it's always exciting. Thank you, everyone.
Item 11, Transit Joint Powers Authority for Merced County Monthly Update. Artis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the things I want to report is the work continues on the new facility, and it is progressing well. We were able to actually have a tour of the new facility with Director McCabe and kind of show him some of the challenges that we have been facing up until this point, and I think it was a very good showing of our new facility and maintenance facility. We're still expecting to be done ahead of schedule, and by the end of the year, looking forward to moving actually on January the 1st. The work should be completed by late November, early December, and that's given us about a 30-day buffer to where we can be able to move in the new equipment, new furniture into the new facility, and so we're excited about that, and we're already ahead of schedule. Transit continues to work with the old Cal ES to provide water during the hot days, and when the county has determined that there is a heat advisory, they have given us a load of water to pass out to passengers, and also to open up heat centers, cooling centers, I should say, and so we're providing service for that as well. In an effort to promote transit, we are hosting a live feed on August the 1st, and what we're really reaching out to, and that's with the local radio station at the Transpo, and we're really trying to target transit choice riders versus, transit dependent, and so I think we're doing a really good job at doing that, and some of the numbers I'll give to you would kind of indicate that. Our new radio system is actually on the new buses now, and so we're going through a training process, and so hopefully at the end of next month, we'll be going live on the radio system that you folks approved for us to purchase, and so we're excited about that. Last month, we did transit training with Supervisor Galore at the mall, and I believe that was a successful event, and so we thank her for her participation in that, and we had quite a few people out there, trying to learn how to ride transit for the very first time. One of the things I did as the director coming on is I wanted to make sure that the transit staff was actually getting outside of their comfort zone and actually riding on the buses. We had been getting some complaints about our contractor and the bus drivers, and customer service was down. So one of the mandates I made was to make sure that every staff member at least once a week would give an hour to ride in the system, throughout the system randomly, and then kind of report back. And so that way, we can kind of get a real hands-on feel of what our public is seeing, and if there's any problems out there, we're able to solve those problems head on. Since last year, half fares and Measure V, we have transferred over 166,000, and that's actually an increase of over 12,000 riders. Other ridership outside of Measure V is 46,000, so we're up, ridership almost 46,000 riders, and the grand total up for the entire year is 59,000 riders. And so once again, as other transit systems are seeing a decrease in ridership, we're proud to report that our ridership is up to over 59,000 for the year. One thing on the Ferguson fire, because Yards uses Highway 40 at this time, and this is just a side note that we are having a modified schedule due to the Ferguson fire, and hopefully they'll get that fire under control soon, and they'll open up that highway to where we can travel back up Highway 140.
Any questions? No? Thank you, Artis.
Thank you.
Item 12, consent agenda items A through C. Are there any questions? Is there a motion?
As presented.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Consent agenda approved. Item 13, Caltrans report.
Mr. Chairman, I received an email from Mr. Dumas shortly before coming. He actually had car problem on 99 in Modesto, so he wasn't able to make it, but he assured me he's in a safe spot. I will note that I did ask for questions and comments beforehand. Supervisor or Member Espinoza did provide one, and that's being looked into already at Shanks Road overpass pavement condition, correct? And Member Pereira also provided one question about the transitions for the new paving on 59 at the different access points. And I didn't have a lot of time, but we got a couple of emails back. I forwarded them to you, and we'll be happy to follow up further with them, but they're definitely on it.
Okay.
Excellent. Item 14, information only, items A through E. Is there any discussion? None? Then we'll proceed to item 15, consent agenda items A through F.
Move to approve.
Is there a second? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 16, Transportation Planning Update. Matt Fell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I just really have one thing to tell you this month. Last month, we talked a little bit about van pools and some other things. The Regional Transportation Plan, which we had a public hearing at last month, the comment period closed a couple days ago, and so we'll be bringing the final draft of that as well as a number of other major documents to you next month. Just wanted to let you know we did receive a couple comments, and our consultants are working on preparing the responses to those. So you'll be seeing the final draft of the RTP next month. And if you have any questions on that or anything else, I'd be happy to take those.
Any questions? Thank you.
Okay.
Item 17, Draft 2019 Federal Transportation Improvement Program. Ty?
Ty's not here, I'll take this one.
Aye.
Yeah, I'll be Ty. So this is just for information only, and this is one of those major documents that you'll be seeing next month, a final draft. So the Federal Transportation Improvement Program is a very important document because all the federal transportation dollars have to be shown in this document. And so there's a lot of funding shown in here, including SHOP for major highway maintenance projects. There's also the Livingston project, so the northbound, which is being funded by the state trade corridor program, and hopefully will go to bid next spring. And then the southbound, which is currently programmed in 21-22. So those are also major projects that are shown in the FTIP, and approval of the FTIP is a necessary step for all those dollars to flow. So that's basically in a nutshell what the FTIP is. If you have any questions on the FTIP, I could answer those for you.
Questions? No? Thank you.
All right.
Item 18, Master Measure V Regional Project Funding Agreement. Stacy?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the board. This is an information item primarily because we went through a very similar process when we were finalizing local project funding agreements for the local allocations of measure money. And in that process, we started by bringing a draft to the board and then you directed staff to then send it to your legal counsels for review, and it was a couple-month iterative process. I got the impression, working with your staff, that there's an eagerness to have access to the regional project funding as soon as possible. So we took a different approach in developing the regional project agreement by starting to work with your staff and your legal counsels first, just to get a jump start and to expedite that review process. But I didn't want to not take this opportunity to update you on what that process looks like. So right now, your staff has a copy of a draft regional project agreement, and this board will need to execute 13 agreements based on the 13 approved allocations from last month for the regional funding. So your councils and your staff have been working with us. We're receiving comments from them now on ultimately developing a master draft that will come back to this board in August, and then your action would be, should you choose to, would be to direct staff to release that draft back to the jurisdictions for individual action. So the ultimate goal here, and what staff is trying to accomplish, is to have an approved universal master draft in your staff's hands by the time this board takes action on approving the implementation plan. And why that's important is because once the implementation plan is approved, your allocations for regional funding are now available. So we want to get everything done that we can leading up to that point so that there isn't a delay, that once you have an approved implementation plan, that now we have to go through a process of going through trying to develop an agreement. So we're doing those things concurrently. It is included here. This will not be the draft you'll see in August because we are still getting your feedback from staff and council, but it gives you a sense of what it looks like. And I will say we developed it it's based about 80% off of what our local funding agreements look like. There's just going to be a dynamic there about specific project details that we're working with your staff to do. So wanted you to know we've been working with your team. We've also provided them with a pre-draft of the implementation plan that's already out there, and their deadline to get that feedback to us is August 3rd, so that then we can get both of those drafts to you in August for action, so that we can get a deadline, hopefully, of having an approved implementation plan by September 20th. And then that would mean that those jurisdictions that are eager and ready to use your regional allocation of measure funds will be able to do that, start charging the next day, essentially, or the day of, however that works. But any questions about that process?
Any questions? Yes.
Thank you. Just a couple comments, and I had a phone call before the meeting with Stacy, but just an observation in terms of the project list. Fully supportive of the project list and so forth. Just wanted to, we need to keep track, not on an annual basis, but just kind of generally in terms of how the regional money is allocated. So, for example, there's 2 Merced projects, but there are these other projects. Some of the projects are being funded 100% today. Some of them are being funded 60 or 70%. The 2 Merced projects on there are being funded 11% and 12%, which is fine because that's what's ready to go today on the project. But overall, the Measure V allocation for the city of Merced is under 20% of what's being allocated here. I think it's 18% or so of the total 6.48 million. And we're more than 18% of the population on the east side. So I'm not suggesting any changes here. I'm fully supportive of it, but I just want to make mention of that because I'll probably make mention of it next year when there'll need to be some recalibration that occurs. So, does that make sense for the board?
Yes.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Can I?
Yes.
I think what we need to do, I think what the cities kind of found themselves in a position in the first phase is your priorities, the way they were set, and with the allocations that you got, I think, we were under the assumption that you already had money backfilling it. So I think maybe the priorities and how it was set up because I see a couple I see where Los Banos got the bike path, and I think they wanted to do a little bit more as well, but because it was the way the priorities were set up and the way they were the first ones that were shovel ready. And I think that's, yeah. So I think maybe the cities, maybe councils can be a little more strategic in your ask or, setting it up when you send it back up here. Because we were trying to allocate it as, Councilman Bellalamy was there at that meeting.
Right.
And we were trying to allocate it out as evenly as we could, so.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, and on the west side, we're perfectly happy right now because our project is not shovel ready. And next year, we're hoping for the same thing that Merced is talking about. But I would hope that, and I can say this in public, I said that you've done a good thing for the county by starting on Henry Miller Road. And it is my hope that you went east this year, and then in 2 more years, you could go west and finish off Henry Miller Road. And so for a continuum to do both sides. Thank you. That's a county project.
Maybe
Yes.
a response in regards to that, Mike, but the intent was to get, because of the cost, was to get Turner Island done. And then after Turner Island, they're mainly going to work on Henry Miller from Turner Island to 165 this year.
Yes.
Under county dollars to cut out and build up some of those broken down areas and then resurface and reconstruct next year. That's what the intent is.
Yeah, and then
with that portion, and then in the following year, they're going to go on to I-5 from
On Henry Miller?
On Henry Miller.
Yeah, I'm perfectly happy with that because that's a great side road for Gustine residents and also for Los Banos residents. So it works out well.
Well, that's the intent for that project.
Great, great. To go both ways.
Yeah.
Good.
Excellent. Yes, Lee.
Stacy, I just wanted to thank you for the outline of the schedules. Very appreciated.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Nope. Okay, we'll move on to Executive Director's report.
Mr. Chairman, just a few things. I want to thank the cities of Merced County, and Los Banos in advance. We actually had an opportunity to meet in the last couple days with executive management folks from both the City of Merced and the County of Merced regarding their classification and compensation studies and getting some information from them on how they're doing it to be informational to us, so we appreciate that. I'll mention that I talked a lot about something called the ICAP, in the last fiscal year, and we got over that hump of the 15-16 ICAP, which was huge, and now Nev and his staff have already submitted the 17-18, and awaiting review of that, so we can recover several $100,000 that's owed to us, and they're preparing to submit the 18-19, so they're continuing to move forward with all their progress. This is kind of a shotgun thing. Just a reminder, the Valley Voice Planning is going on, and members McDaniel and Volta are going to be traveling in September to Washington, D.C. as part of that contingent. There's another planning meeting tomorrow. A mutual rescission document was developed by council that'll just formalize the conclusion of the RTIF. The city managers and county CEO will be signing that, as the elected bodies have already acted, and that'll be signed by those folks and then brought back to this body for the truly final signature. Next month we'll be finalizing the accounting on the RTIF, so we know how much money there is available, so we'll be able to move forward on that. And then finally, I'll just state that we're glad that the chair was able to come to see the new transit facility. I was there for that with Artis and Dariana, and Brooks is there with the chair at the landfills, and make sure that all the board members know that we're always open to do that sort of thing. I think you'll agree it was a good experience, and frankly, I've been to the transit facility multiple times. I hadn't been there in a few weeks, and just in a few weeks, a lot of progress had been made, and it's actually extremely satisfying to see the bus wash building go up now after you see it on plans for many months, and to see the room that's going to house all the mechanicals, and to know that that luckily it was built big enough to be functional. And if it wasn't for the hard work of particularly Artis and Dariana over there, we could have had a real headache there if it hadn't been built right. But the good news is it was built right. So it is very satisfying to be able to go out there with the chair and the staff to see progress getting made. And the offer extends to everybody.
Director Lee, we're doing director's reports.
Thank you. I wanted to thank Patrick and Artis, as well as transit staff, for the learning how to ride the bus session. We did have a full bus when I was there, and after I left, I got phone calls saying, "Hey, I missed the bus. Can I still learn how to ride the bus?" I had to tell them, "Sorry, but the event's over. I can personally show you how to ride the bus if you'd like to. I think I'm a pro now." So thank you, staff, for making it possible.
Director Espinosa.
Thank you. As I stated in my email to Patrick, I got a few calls from some people in Delhi. I was going to let Lloyd know also, and I thought that this belonged to Caltrans. But just like Livingston, we're always get taken. I think that's the responsibility of when we do an overpass or whatever, because every time that something needs to be fixed, it belongs to the city or it belongs to the county. And I think, when the overpass is complete, they should be taking care of it, whatever lights or if it needs to be repaved. I guess that it's been, I know it's an old overpass, but that should have been taken care of by them, not by, now I guess it belongs to the county, because the surface and the maintenance belongs to the county on that one, I guess, for Shanks. I mean, because I know that we have two overpasses in Livingston, and the years pass, and we get send letters back and forth, and after 5 or 10 years, they tell us, "Oh, no, the Livingston is supposed to be maintaining the overpass, not Caltrans." So I'm just glad that somebody's, I guess, got it, but now it's unfortunate that we have to maintain it. Thank you.
Director Murphy. Director Vialta.
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Director Oliveira.
Nothing to report.
Director Hogue.
I'm good.
Okay. As it was mentioned a few times, I had a wonderful experience these last 2 weeks. When I went to Cal Poly, I'm a failed farmer, but my favorite professor told me the most important thing about being a farmer is seeing your shadow in the field. So I figured it'd be great to go out and actually physically see these things, and I appreciate Artis and Dariana and everyone's time to take me out there. And it was neat to see the change orders and have them explain to me the change orders and why they're necessary, and actually see how the fueling and how the flow of the bus is going to be. It's really exciting, that project, and how it's coming along. And then Brooks did a great job showing me both of the projects that we discussed here, and it was a great experience. I hadn't been out to the landfill in heck over 10 years, so it was great to actually get boots on the ground and see it. And it's amazing how big the expansion is over there at Billy Wright. It is something else. And then Brooks was nice enough to take me through the process of making the liner, and it's amazing to see the level of detail it goes into to protect our water and to increase overall sustainability. So thank you to staff for taking your time out of your busy schedules to show me things and to, explain things to me like I'm a small child or a little dog, so I can understand it. Dr. McDaniels?
Nothing to report.
Nothing.
Dr. Pereira?
Well, 4th of July, I would just like to thank the city of Livingston. I was in their parade, and it was amazing. It was a warm morning, but a great turnout, and really enjoyed it. And the city council let me ride on the old fire truck. What year was that built? Do you know, Joe?
But, I don't know, it was in the early 50s.
50s, yeah, okay. Anyway, so it's a cool old fire truck, and I didn't get squirted, so life was good. That's it.
Director Price?
Thank you. Well, I want to welcome everybody to Mi Casa, our place, right? And, thank God, because Darren knows, the last meeting that we had here, the motor went out on the air conditioning, and we went through a council meeting with no air conditioning.
No!
100-degree day, so.
They went through it.
Yeah, we persevered, so.
Wow.
In any case, I'd like to, as Director Pereira said, I want to, say that we had a great, the best fireworks display. No, no, actually, ours kind of had a couple of glitches in it, so we didn't have the best, but we had the most. But in any case,
they're all special in their own way.
Yes, they are. But we had a great 4th of July, and for anybody that here in attendance that was there, this was we set some records at Castle, and I want to personally thank. I know there's no representation here from there, but the county sheriff, along with our police department and the CHP, when I left out of there, I left at about 10:30, 10:45, and it took me only 10 minutes to get out of there with all those cars and everything. It was a masterful job on traffic control. It was really, really good. Artis had mentioned the buses running to Yosemite. For those that know the business I'm in, I'm out of Castle, and we've been working this Ferguson fire for the last 6-7 days now, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better before anytime soon. And the reports that I got just an hour ago or so before coming here show a shift in the wind, and you probably noticed a lot of smoke all of a sudden around us today. And that's because there's a monsoonal flow coming up, and the winds are coming out of the east and pushing it into the valley. So that means that the fire that's behind Mariposa heading towards Bootjack is now going to head towards Mariposa and Mid-Pines. So 21,000 acres and growing. It's a big fire, and I don't know how you're going to handle those. I guess 40 and 120 are about the only, or 41 and 120 are the only routes up there. But in any case, it's a big deal going on out there, and we've been extremely busy out at Castle. For those, and I want to extend an invitation to anyone here that would like to come out, and I will personally take you out and show you the fire reload facility and what goes on out there, what we do, what they do, so you can kind of get a feel for it, because, people we're just kind of hidden out there, but we've been moving a lot of retardant, and so once the smoke lifts, we'll be moving a lot more. It's not going to be something that's going to end overnight, that's for sure. This one's going to go for a while. And I've heard some of the Forestry Service people call it Rimfire 2, the sequel.
Oh, gosh.
And for anybody that knows the Rimfire, it went on for about 6 weeks. So, in any case, thanks so much for anybody that came out there. We had a wonderful 4th of July and parade and all that. And thank you so much, Alex.
Got it. Yes. Are you going to correct?
Yeah, I'm
Christine
going to
is not
correct. I was
Livingston?
thinking about Alex and Livingston, and but
Hey,
it was actually.
we still love you in Livingston, though, either way, Lloyd.
I drove right through Livingston on the way to Gustine, but it was Gustine Parade, and it was awesome.
Excellent. At this time, we're going to go into closed session. And directors, we'll take a 5-minute break as we get into closed session.
Cheers is gonna be on in 15 minutes. Come on.
Sounds like retirement talk.
Oh, yeah.
Tell Mr. Chairman we're rolling.
We're rolling.
We're rolling.
We're rolling, Mr. Chair.
All right, the meeting room is back in order. What we have to announce from closed session is we've given staff direction, and then Stacy Dabbs will be appointed to interim director. There's no further discussions for this board at this time, so the meeting is adjourned.